Ed Kratz texted me yesterday, what about Julio? And I just texted back and I said, I don't want to be dramatic, but I think Julio Jones would rather shoot himself in the face than play in this offense. I mean, it ain't going to happen.
John McMullen, Jody McDonald here with you on Birds 365. Oh, we get to bring in one of our faves. It's been a while, at least 3 weeks, I think. We got used to having him on more often during the season, so shame on us. Maybe it's because he has to do more heavy lifting these days without Michael K dragging him down. I don't know exactly why we haven't had Craig on it. Yeah. All right. No. He knows I love him. I'm just funny here. I know. Come on, a little jab left. Come on, we're all boys, we're right? All Chris Franklin, yes. Michael K's not going to body slam me for that comment, is he?
He's a big wrestling fan.
So I'll say, yeah. I lost my tag team partner. We had to go. He went to the singles route, but you know what? Picked up a new tag team partner.
Yeah, NJ, big news at NJ.com. I don't think Jody knows, so I wanted you to make the announcement. Yeah, right here on Birds 365.
Let me get into my PR thing. It's not every day that you get to work with legendary people, and Mike K was a legend as well too. But we were able to replace him and add on Les Bowen to join us as well too, and help with some of the stuff with the coverage as well too. So we're looking forward to this. We got, if you want to still coach speak, we got a little bit better today, and we're going to move on from here.
So now I know who we're going to have tomorrow morning at 8:20. We're going to try and get Les on here. Talk about the new gig. We got to give him his props. No, I did not know that. Thank you for informing. You're replacing one legend with another. That is outstanding. So congrats to Les. Good for you. Now you can go back to sloughing off. Like
now you can take a rest.
Kay was carrying your ass for a long time.
That is true. I feel like Jalen Hurts right now. You know, I got the starting spot a little bit, and then I have. Well, I'm not calling Mike Flacco. I think he's better than Flacco, but way better than Flacco. And then now I have another veteran that's coming behind as well to help me out. So it's perfect that way.
And that's a better veteron than Zach Pascal, by the way.
Not even close.
It is. I don't want to pick on Zach Pascal, Chris Franklin, but how do you not pick on Zach Pascal? I look, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a solid player. What is it about this team that they can't find a receiver? And I, whisper Devontae Smith off to the side because he's the one guy. Well, they can't. There's something in the water at the NovaCare complex. They can't get Calvin Ridley. They can't get Allen Robinson to play here. They can't get Christian Kirk. It's too expensive. They can't trade for Robert Woods. And we're down to Zach Pascal. Really?
I think it's one of those things where I think they had a lot of eggs in that basket. So they felt confident. Hey, you know what? We got Calvin Ridley. We're going to make this big splash. Wait, what? Cam? Why? Why'd you have to mess that parlay up? Thanks, appreciate it. And then once that happened, I think it was okay. Go down to B, C, and D. And listen, we know that they were in heavily. Well, they really liked Allen Robinson, and they tried to get Robert. They really did try to get Robert Woods. But the thing, especially, is when they went and said, "Hey, Robert, you choose where you want to go. Do you want to go to a spot where you have Derrick Henry and AJ Brown and a team that was a number one seed, or do you want to go to a team that's still trying to rebuild and get to that level?" And it's gotten to the point now. I think with Pascal, we know what he is. He's a 3-4. He's a wide receiver 3 at best, maybe 4. If they don't try to make him more than that, I can live with that signing. If they try to say, okay, no, he's our number 2, Watkins is our number 3, then you got a lot of questions. So, but
all right, no, hold on a second here. Are you telling me that the Eagles didn't get Robert Woods because Snead, the general manager of the Rams, was still wearing his F those picks t-shirt? And the Eagles could have put a 4 or a 5, at least a 5, if not a 4 on the table, and the Rams would have gone, Nah, we owe Robert Woods more than that. We'll take a scant 6 from Tennessee, which, oh, by the way, Tennessee won so many games. Their 6th-round pick is significantly back in the 6th round. I know we're talking about the 6th round here, but the Eagles pick in the 6th is higher than the Tennessee pick. The Eagles pick in the 5th round is certainly higher than Tennessee's 6th. That's why Robert Woods is not here. Because the Rams are just that good a team that takes care of their former play. They feel bad because he didn't get to play in the Super Bowl. What the hell? Robert Woods could actually play for this team.
Unless they offered a third. If it was a day 2 pick or above, I think they're going to say, hey, we know we love you, but nah, you're going to Philadelphia. But they really, truly, from what I've heard, they really, truly liked him in the system. They really, truly thought he was a really big part of that team, and more ways than one, especially off the field and holding that glue together. So they wanted to give him that respect. That's what I was like. But hey.
But to me, the bigger question is, Chris, why, when these receivers have options, why are they not choosing Philadelphia? Is it the quarterback? Is it the style of offense? Why are bigger name receivers, if they have options? And, Christian Kirk just got paid like a superstar, and he's not. So there's always that. But Allen Robinson, had options, and it's understandable why he chose to go to a Super Bowl offense with a quarterback who throws the football all over the lot, and Sean McVay. But as Jody pointed out, with Robert Woods, it's a run-first offense in Nashville. Ryan Tannehill might be better than Jalen Hurts, but you could argue he's a descending quarterback and Jalen is an ascending quarterback. What is it about the Eagles right now in this snapshot that receivers don't want to play for this team?
You mentioned 2 things. One, I think it's the uncertainty at quarterback. I mean, a lot of times you heard the rumors constantly swirling about, hey, is Jalen Hurts going to be the guy? Are they truly trying to get Deshaun Watson? And in that instability, I think if you had like a top 5, top 10 guy here, I think the receivers would jump at the chance to do that. I think when you look at Jalen Hurts right now, and there's still some question marks around him. There's still question marks if he can improve to be that next tier guy. And this is why this season is so important, because not only do you looking at potential, you not only play, basically you need him not only for this season, you need him to see if he's the guy next year, and potentially lure some more free agents in that way as well too. So I think I think the system a little bit as well too. I mean, you when you look around at some things, I mean, the run is obviously important with this team, and that's the best way you can move the ball. But when you look at around how many passing yards and all that stuff, and you look at some of the route trees and all that stuff, like they take shots once in a while, but everything's predicated off the play action pass and everything. So I think when you look at some of these more spread offenses, the more chances you get to throw the ball around a lot. I think right now, that gives a lot of teams a more, if I'm a wide receiver, I'm looking around going, hey, you know what? Maybe I want to go somewhere else as of right now compared to the Eagles.
All right, TF, you made it a generalized statement rather than an individual Chris Franklin thinks statement in questioning Jalen Hurts and where he's at this time. So I'm going to ask you to narrow focus a little bit more.
Okay.
Were you wowed by either Malik Willis and or Kenny Pickett performing outstandingly against air these last 2 days? Give me a percentage chance the Eagles are going to use a first-round pick on a quarterback, because they are all correct that there is still many a question about the Eagles quarterback right now.
I think it's going to be a 40% chance they take a quarterback this year. Malik Willis is growing on me more and more. And looking at the way, I like the quick release that he has. I mean, the arm strength is there. I mean, you'd feel comfortable seeing him throw the deep out. You'd feel comfortable seeing the deep ball, the 9 routes. I also like the fact that it's that quick release, because a lot of times when you see, it's not just, hey, you can look at the guy, you decipher the defenses. Okay, can you get it there out of your hand quickly with the speed of these rushers? So I really like that, and I think he's showing a lot of more leadership, and he's showing he's a little fun as well too. So I don't know if he falls down. At first I thought okay, maybe he goes to 11. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get down to Carolina. And with Kenny Pickett, I don't know. It just seems something unnatural when it comes to his throwing motion. It just seems like he pushes the ball sometimes, and that ball flutters a little bit when it goes past 30, 40, 45 yards. And I'm not really feeling comfortable with him being being a top 10 guy. I don't see him foreseeing being a top 10 guy, put it that way. So serviceable, yeah, but I don't like Kenny Pickett. So it's almost like right now you won't have an option at I don't think you'll have an option with Malik Willis, but I like him a lot.
Well, the Eagles took Kenny Pickett out to dinner. How much does that mean? Brian Johnson picking up the check for Kenny Pickett. And Brett, I also want to piggyback off that, Chris, because it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but Jody brought up the percentage of quarterback in the Eagles go in that direction with one of their first 3-round picks. Has the percentage spiked that they got to go wide receiver again with one of those picks now? Because you mentioned if you're fine with if Zach Pascal's wide receiver 3, to me, it doesn't matter if he's 2 or 3. If you're throwing out Devontae Smith, Quez Watkins, and Zach Pascal in 11 personnel, that's not helping Jalen Hurts.
Not at all.
That's not helping Jalen Hurts. So do they have to go wide receiver again in the first round?
I'd basically look at Treylon Burks right now. The only way I would not is if I'm having serious discussions with the Houston Texans to see if you can pry away Brandon Cooks. That's the only guy I probably think I'd seriously look at that avenue now.
It's time for a Cooks trade, I think.
I
was going to say, when do we start worrying about the fact that Brandon Cooks has played for half of the National Football League?
It's the weirdest thing. The guy produces, and he's always getting traded. It's bizarre.
I mean, I remember the talks back in like 2013 when he's coming out like, hey, he's going to be an Eagle. Well, maybe it's a chance. It's just a little bit delayed on that one too, but
I take him.
Right now,
I take him.
8 years later, he becomes an Eagle. I'd be okay. Anything better than Zach Pascal. All right.
Of course,
we know this trend. We haven't had you on, Chris, as I said a couple of weeks. This came down last week. The Eagles did some fancy maneuvering, legwork, and got Fletcher Cox back on the team after releasing him, rolling the dice a little bit. There's a team out there that just loves him, could have scooped him up, given him more money than the Eagles did. So they had a good feel for it. Good on Howie that he read the room right and got the deal done. But you are now unquestionably in a year-to-year situation with Fletcher Cox. There's some really good defensive tackles in this draft. We've been talking about, they need an edge pass rush. That's where they're on edge pass rush. Will they go linebacker? Well, we know they could use an upgraded cornerback or safety. Are we going to move back into the defensive tackle conversation as well? Because the Eagles, if we go by track record, they always go interior first. Offensive line, defensive line. Are we actually going to be talking about a DT being selected by the Eagles in the first round?
I think it's highly possible. I think that Ojabu injury really, really shook things up. I really believe that because I think he was a guy who he fits that mold that the Eagles type to like a quick edge rusher. And besides, you need another Michigan defensive end, with Brandon Graham getting old. But you need to make sure. But I think looking over, I like the guy who I would love to see, but I think he's going to be picked up. I don't know, like the Vikings, somebody else, Jordan Davis. I think he fits like they get a really big guy in there who shows the quickness to really push the interior. You pair him up with a Javon Hargrave, or even say if they decide to go Milton Williams and Davis in the middle, that just eats up. That takes a lot of those interior linemen, a lot of those guards. I think his quickness, he's got to put a lot of those pressure in there, and then he opens up things for your edge. So he's a guy I like. Wyatt is another guy I like. But I mean, heck, if they decide to trade down, they get that number. The other guy I like is DeMarvin Leal, and they decide to trade down and somewhat get that first round pick. They pick up for 2023 and they move down far enough. I wouldn't mind seeing Leo being in here as well too. I think he's another quick guy who would fit this, and he gives that versatility of playing defensive tackle, defensive end. But I think the likelihood where Jabo's going there, I think is shot up a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about a Jabo, Chris, because that's a guy I've heard the Eagles had significant interest in. So when a guy like that goes down at his pro day, obviously he's not in the mix to be a first round pick now. You start thinking about a value pick in the second round if he falls that far. The Eagles went this route with Sidney Jones. And it didn't work out for him. If you get a player you like at say 15 and he's there at 51, do you jump at David Ojabo?
I don't think he falls that far. I still think there's an outside chance he goes in the first, late first round. I think there's some teams that are enamored, especially a team like Tampa Bay or something like that, where They have a win now. They have a really veteran crew, a veteran team. So, and you don't necessarily need them right away. So you go ahead and you stash them, let them recover, and then you all of a sudden you got a guy who was top 15 value down there. I think he still goes in the first, but if he's sitting there, say you're entering that Friday, you got 10 picks. If you can give up, I don't know if you want to give up one of those fifths and like say another pick next year to get a guy like that, I'm for it, and just stash them and let them recover.
All right, how about then I'll say this: how about dropping down? We talk about the Eagles in salary cap space. Jody and I were talking about, how over the cap does effective salary cap space because they're factoring budgeting for the rookie class, and the Eagles, if they take those 3 first-round picks, that's a significant chunk of the salary cap. If you got 3 first-rounders on the books, what about dropping out of the first round to maybe early in the second round and getting a value there? If somebody like Ojabo drifts a little bit, could that be part of the strategy?
I think it's possible. I think if you went into this draft and say, hey, you know what, I got Jordan Davis, Traylon Burks, Lloyd's gone by the time like say 17 and 18, and you still got that pick, you move back and you say, hey, you know what, who needs a quarterback still? Like who wants to get like a Carson Strong, or who wants to get potentially Matt Corral if he drops that far? Okay, you want to go move up to 19? Okay, give us a first round pick, and then you still get a Jabu. I think that's a win, a big win. Because then you get the flexibility for next year in case Jalen Hurts doesn't work out. Now you have 2 first-round picks again, and you can dangle that with a 2024 first-round picks. And, hey, you got a franchise quarterback for her. Somebody's going to want out, given all the other quarterbacks that wants out again, so it puts you in a good position. So something like that, yeah, I'd be all for that.
All right, here's a question you might not have been asked recently and or contemplated. A lot of people are talking up the AFC West. You get Russell Wilson added to the mix in Denver. That's a major upgrade. The Chargers go out and get Khalil Mack and add C.J. Jackson to Herbert and keep Mike Williams. Damn, that's good. The Raiders go out and get a pass rushing defensive end from Arizona. And, oh, by the way, add the best wide receiver in the National Football League. And the Chiefs
got Cooper Kupp? No, I'm joking.
Cooper had the best year.
Yeah. Now,
if I can only pick one player to go forward with next year, yes, I'm still thinking Devontae Adams added Cooper Kupp. That's just me. Call me an idiot if you want. But the point I was attempting to make was that, man, the AFC West is so improved. That's got to be the best division in football. What's the worst division in football?
We're in it right now.
Yeah, exactly right. Thank you very much. That's what I have to keep falling back to when the Eagles are doing minimal things at best. I have to get to, hey, yeah, but the Cowboys are getting even more worse than the Eagles are. The Giants have done diddly squad, and Carson Wentz is the quarterback of the Commanders. We're still in good shape in the NFC East.
The NFC East and the AFC South, they're it's going to be real interesting because they get to play each other next year. So they're really going to do that. And how about the Eagles not having to play the AFC West this year and having to take it out that schedule last year? Because that's murderer's row. Yeah. But overall, when you just look at just the quarterback play the quarterbacks that you have in this division, you have Jalen Hurts. Nobody knows what he's going to do in the future. He's still too many questions. Dak Prescott, he's good, but I don't know if you can really truly win a Super Bowl with that guy. Carson Wentz, insert past 3-4 years on that one, and then you got Daniel Jones, where all he seems to do is run against the Eagles, and after that, anybody else, good luck. It's one of those really. It's just a back of better words, a really milquetoast division that whoever wins, like I really only see like one team really getting out next year, winning the playoffs, and that's whoever wins the division. There's only going to be one team that comes out the NFC East.
Now, crazy. Chris, there is a positive to what Jody just described. You talked about the murderer's row in the AFC West. The NFC, well, Aaron Rodgers is back. Tom Brady's back. So, and you have the Super Bowl champions. After that, it's wide open. It's AAA football. I think there's going to be teams in Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Reading. It's an awful conference. It is ripe for a run by somebody. Why not the Philadelphia Eagles in this stinking conference where the two guys who are at the top are greats, arguably the best quarterback of all time, and then another top 5 quarterback, but they're also 150 years old. So who knows? And as Jody mentioned, no Devontae Adams in Green Bay now. Tampa Bay's lost some of their offensive linemen, lost Alex Kappa. They lost, who else did they lose? Ali Marpet retired. There's, in the AFC, you got to be worried about all these, how do we get past this? How do we get past this? Tennessee was the number 1 seed. I saw somebody said they got to retool. They can't compete. Here in the NFC, everybody can compete. So why not the Eagles?
Because I look when they match up, I still think they match up. The Saints still give them problems. I know that if they play them here, they look like a great team. But the Saints,
that's bad
for it. Tampa Bay, I mean, you can't count. As much as I went against Tom Brady and in that wild card range, you still really can't count them out. And you look at some of those West, I still think San Fran, Kyle Shanahan, the way he seems to get that for the 49ers prepare, you can't. But I think the NFC West, and I wouldn't be surprised if. Here's one. I wouldn't be surprised if Chicago looks a little bit better. A little bit. Not saying they're that one, but stat. But this, you're right, it's bad. But I wonder how much they bet. I think everybody when it comes to these like intermediate teams, those mid-level teams, how much they beat each other up. And I don't know if the Eagles are at that point where they say, hey, you know what? They're beyond the 7 seed, because right now, I think they're like a 7-8 team again. It's.
Let me propose a name. John and I have been talking so much about wide receivers and me beating up on Zach Pascal more than anything else. But there is still one talented wide receiver out there. And I talked to 2 different people from Cleveland over the weekend, and they got the Deshaun Watson thing done. And they, what else did they? Amari Cooper, he did his contract so they could clear up some cap room. The word is they're angling to try and get Jarvis Landry back there. And I think with putting Deshaun Watson in over Baker Mayfield, that might entice Landry to come back, even though he can't be happy about the fact that they released him. I'm a Jarvis Landry fan. I think he's a legit, well above average, might not be a star, but just one rung level less than that. The market is going to be what it's going to be, but we're seeing teams paying less for a lot of people, like the Eagles, Zach Pascal. Is Jarvis Landry to Philadelphia a chance, or is it going to be another one where after the fact I start to bemoan it, John's going to go, hey, people just don't want to come to Philadelphia because they don't throw the football enough, and Jalen Hurts is still a question mark in people's minds, like Chris Franklin said. Tell me they're going to get a guy like Jarvis Landry, Chris Franklin.
I wouldn't mind Landry because I think, like you said, I think he's a good wide receiver too. I think when OBJ went out and you really saw like the onus of the offense being on him with Cleveland, it wasn't as dynamic as when he needs another really good wide receiver. So if you pair him up with Devonta Smith, I think he's all right. Another name that I'd really seriously consider as well too is Julio Jones. He's not the Julio Jones we remember with the Falcons. He's not the guy who is going to be, he's that all pro type guy. But I think he's somebody who will instantly come in. He's that bigger receiver they really truly need, I think, especially in the red zone.
He's a Hall of Fame receiver. It's interesting because Ed Kratz texted me yesterday, what about Julio? And I just texted back and I said, I don't want to be dramatic, but I think Julio Jones would rather shoot himself in the face than play in this offense. I mean, it ain't gonna happen. It's not gonna happen.
You're gonna start saying, "Oh, I retire." Philly wants to call you. I'm retiring. I'm
John,
done.
Quick question for you: when exactly is Devonta Smith going to request a trade? Because
that might happen quick, but in a quicker fashion, unless things change. Unless things change.
This offense is this bad and this disrespected around the league that wide receivers would rather shoot themselves than come play here.
I was being dramatic. It was a joke. It's a great line from a movie. I love the line, so I had a chance to use it. Jarvis Landry, you brought up. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, Jody. I mean, the Browns are thinking, okay, we can get the guy back because he'll get to play with Deshaun Watson. this is what receivers think about. And you're right, Chris. Julio Jones is the Julio Jones of past. He's one of the great receivers of all time. But he's got that mindset, and he's not going to come in here and play that offense. I mean, look, you never say never. Obviously, I was making a joke, but he's not coming here to block. Zach Pascal's coming here to block.
That's true.
I mean, this
Don't
is
forget
Julio
J-Jaw.
Stinker Jones.
Don't forget J-Jaw. He's one of the best blocking wide receivers in the league.
He is. So why do you need Zach Pascal?
Pretty soon, all you need now is Jordan Matthews to come in. You got yourself a really good, all of a sudden, it's quasi 14 person.
Yeah. Now, I mean, look, I think the Eagles need to change their reputation to be in the conversation with receivers who have to make decisions. And by the way, I give the Eagles credit for going on the trade market because that's where they have to go.
Yep.
So, if they traded for Calvin Ridley, we wouldn't be having this conversation. If they were able to trade for Robert Woods, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You brought up Brandon Cooks earlier. I think they got to go the trade route. Is there? I mean, if a wide receiver has an option, you're not coming to Philadelphia right now. Am I being too harsh?
No, I think it's on point right now because, and I know we're talking about the wide receivers, but when you look at the running game, you don't know who's going to be here next year too. If you got somebody under contract for like 2-3 years, say if you bring Cooks, then and you really there's so much stuff. There's so many question marks. This team is so in flux with it, so many key positions right now. There's so much uncertainty. You don't know. We could be looking at a whole new offense next year and a whole new offense the following year and a whole new offense that way. I know Nick has said in the past, his brother had won in different systems, I think. Yeah. At this point, you're almost at that point now with this Eagles team. You don't know because you may have so many guys leaving going. But when you look at the wide receiver, that's the only way you're going to get somebody forced and say, all right, fine. You want to sit out the rest of the year? Fine. We just won't pay you that way. But the trade market, I think, is going to be the only way to get an impact guy because looking right now at the remaining wide receivers, besides Landry and Jones, good luck.
All right, we're going to finish up with Jody McDonald's favorite thing in the whole world, a hypothetical situation. And I am going to pose it to both John McMullen and Chris Franklin. Let's say the Eagles have a conversation with the Carolina Panthers that they don't like any of the quarterback. They're not going to take quarterback in the first round. And they're sitting there and they've got a couple of quarterbacks that they just don't think can win for them, including my guy, Sam Darnold. Wrong about that one. And I think at one time there was a rumor floating out there that they actually liked Gardner Minshew, that you could get a pick for Gardner, a higher pick than you had for Gardner Minshew. And if they knew that they could move him to Carolina and certain pieces would have to fall into play in succession for this to happen. But you've got that in your back pocket. You can turn around and trade Gardner Minshew and how he can look good because you can get a better pick than the one he gave up for Gardner. And the Cleveland Browns release Baker Mayfield. Can't trade him anywhere. What is it that Carolina and Baker Mayfield have going these
Mutual disinterest.
Mutual disinterest. I say
love
the 31
phrase.
Other teams.
I have mutual disinterest.
I don't like you. I don't like you either. Yeah. Fine, we agree.
31 other teams fall into that same category as far as trading for Baker Mayfield goes. And Cleveland desperately wants to get Jarvis Landry back, and they got to clear some cap room to get it. So the only way they can do it is releasing Baker Mayfield. If that were the case, should the Eagles trade Gardner Minshew and bring Baker Mayfield in to back up Jalen Hurts?
The reporter in me would love it just for the number of storylines that would come out of that.
I would love it. I
apologize for this. Hell no.
That was right earlier for Baker Mayfield. I would try to put Baker in his place. He's a bit of a diva and has talked above and beyond his game. But I'm just wondering, what would you think about Baker as a backup quarterback or a competitor for the starting job here, McMullen, if you think he's good enough?
He'd be a competitor. Mm-hmm. I think he'd win the job, to be honest.
Okay.
And then the Eagles, and Chris is right, they want no part of that. No part, nor should they. Nor should they. And I would not advocate that. Look, there were some thoughts that maybe somebody would offer a pretty good pick for Gardner Minshew if there was no other options for a bridge quarterback. And it looks like everything is pretty much cleared up, with the exception of Carolina and Seattle. Is there another team I'm missing?
No, that's it.
No, it's just dried up quickly.
If
Yeah.
you believe Marcus Mariota is going to be the starting quarterback for Atlanta,
Yeah,
which I
yeah.
do.
Well, they already got their bridge quarterback, so they made their decision. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather stick with Sam Darnold from Carolina if I'm gonna than trade for Gardner Minshew and Drew Lock. You might as well stick with him. Yeah, I'm not happy about it. But I think Gardner Minshew's a great backup. I think he's a top 5 backup. He doesn't make any money. I don't know why the Eagles would want to trade him, to be honest.
Right, just to look good because they could move up a couple of rounds from where they traded him.
And just imagine,
Chris Franklin, the next big Eagle acquisition that you'll be writing about for NJ.com is who?
With the 15th pick in the NFL draft.
Nothing.
They gotta sign something.
Franklin, 5 weeks.
That's the
You're
next-
telling me they get nothing done?
Maybe our definitions are big or are different, but
Okay.
yeah, that one I don't foresee them getting any big name free agent. Their chance
No.
bypass in. Well, you know what? I'll say this: the Eagles trade a 4th round pick to the Houston Texans for Brandon Cooks. I think that's the biggest one.
There we go. I like that. I
If they
like
get him for a
that.
4th,
I'll
I'd do
take
that in
that.
a heartbeat.
I'll take that.
I
At
think
C.
Absolutely.
Franklin News, NJ.com. Joined now at NJ.com by Les Bowen, the legendary Les Bowen. And he's a legend to us, Chris Franklin. Legend.
Is it-
You're already a legend.
Oh,
Certainly
is it
better than
dynamic?
Mike K. Certainly better than Mike.
Dynamic
Oh, we
duo,
love
Franklin
Mike.
and
We kid
Bowen. Yeah, I
We
like
love
it.
Mike.
I'm a proud NJ.com reader today here in the great Garden State.
Yeah.
Chris, good stuff. You know, we'll be getting you back before the Eagles make their next big move, which is with the 16th pick of the draft. You better be wrong.
I've been wrong before. I hope so.
Well before that pick comes down. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much. Have a good one.
Chris Franklin. Some yucks with Franklin today. I
Always get
enjoyed
some
that
yucks.
greatly.
Yeah.
And I apologize to Mike.
Oh,
K,
Mike.
not
Mike
Michael
knows.
K.
Mike knows we love him. I
Yeah.
went too far with my Julio Jones joke, evidently. I love that line. I love that line. I love it.
Oh man, you got me with that one. And again, it just goes to point out that the Eagles are in a bad way with trying to get free agent wide receivers. I know I'm swimming upstream with Jarvis Landry, but I'm still holding out hope that can happen here in Philadelphia. All right, he's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. That makes us Mac and Mac. That makes this Birds 365. We're back to put a bow on the show now.